8, Section 1, parricide, murder, homicide. Article 246, parricide. Elements of the parricide. 1 is that a person is killed, that the deceased is killed by the accused, and the deceased is the father, mother, or child, whether legitimate or illegitimate or legitimate other ascendants or other descendant, or the legitimate spouse of the accused. Article 247. Death or physical injuries inflicted under exceptional circumstances. 1. That a legally married person or parents surprises his spouse or his daughter, the latter under 18 years of age, and living with him in the act of committing sexual intercourse with other person. 2. That he or she kills any or both of them, or inflict upon any both of them any serious physical injuries in the act of or immediately thereof after. And 3, that he has not promote or facilitate the prostitution of his wife or daughter, or that he or she has not consented to the infidelity of others. Dayon. Article 248, murder. One of elements. 1. That a person was killed, that the accused killed him, that the killing was attended by any of the qualifying circumstances mentioned in Article 248, and that the killing is not parricide or infanticide. Then Article 249, homicide elements. 1. The person was killed, that accused killed him without any justifying circumstances. 3rd, that the accused had the intention to kill, which is presumed. And the 4th, that the killing was not attended by any of the qualifying circumstances of murder or any of the parricide or infanticide. Article 251. Death accused in tumultuous affray. 1. That there be several persons who that they did not cause, group, organize, or the common purpose of assaulting and attacking each other reciprocally, otherwise they may be held liable as co-conspirators. 3rd, that these several persons were and assaulted one another in the confused and tumultuous manner. 4th, that the someone was killed in the course of the affray. 5, that it cannot be asserted who actually killed the deceased. And the 6th is that the person or person who inflicted serious physical injuries or who used violence can be identified. Then Article 252, physical injuries inflicted in tumultuous affray. 1. That there is tumultuous affray as referred to in Article 251. 2. That the participant or some participants thereof suffer serious physical injuries or physical injuries of a less serious nature only. 3rd, that the person responsible thereof therefore cannot be identified. And the 4th is that all those appear to have used violence upon the person of the offended party are known. Article 253, giving assistance to suicide act punished. 1. By assisting another to commit a suicide whether the suicide was committed or not. 2. By lending his assistance to another to commit suicide to the extent of doing the killing himself. Dayon. Article 254. Discharge of firearms. 1. First element that the offender discharged firearm against or at another person. And the second element is that the offender has no intention to kill that person. Infanticide and abortion. Article 255. Infanticide elements. First is that the child was killed. Second was that the deceased child was less than 3 days or 72 hours of age. And the third is that the accused killed the said child. 1, 2, 3, go. Article 256. Intentional abortion. First element. That there is a pregnant woman. Second, that the violence is exerted or drug or beverage administered or the accused otherwise act upon such pregnant woman. Third, that as a result of the use of the violence or drug or beverage upon her or any other act of the accused, that the fetus dies either in the womb or after having expelled therefrom. And the fourth is that the abortion is intended. Then Article 258. Abortion practiced by the woman himself or her parents. First element is that there was a pregnant woman who has suffered abortion. Second, that the abortion is intended. And the third is that the abortion is caused by A. Pregnant woman herself, B. Any other person or her consent, or C is any of her parents or her consent for the purpose of concealing his dishonor. Dayon. Article 259. Abortion practiced by a physician or midwife and dispensing of abortive elements. 1. That there is a pregnant woman who has suffered abortion. Second, that abortion is intended. Third is that the offender, who must be a physician or midwife, causes or assists in causing the abortion. And the fourth is the said physician or midwife takes advantage of his or her scientific knowledge or skill. Dayon. As a pharmacist, the elements are as a pharmacist. First is that the offender is a pharmacist. Second is there is no proper prescriptions from physicians, and the offender dispenses any abortion. Section 3, duel. Then Article 260, responsibility of participants in duel. Act punished. 1. By killing one's adversary in duel. Then second, inflicted upon such adversary physical injuries. And the third is by making combat although no physical injuries have been inflicted. Then Article 261, challenging to a duel. Act punished. 1. By challenging another to a duel. Then second is by inciting another to give or accept a challenge to a duel. And third is by scoffing or decrying another publicly for having refused to accept a challenge to fight a duel. Then Chapter 2, physical injuries. Article 262, mutilation. Elements is first, by intentionally mutilating another by depriving him, either totally or partially, of some essential organs or reproduction. Castration. A. That there is castrations, that is mutilations of organs necessary for generation such as penis, ovarium, and the B is that the mutilations is caused purposely and deliberately, that is to deprive the offended party of having of some essential organ of for for reproduction. Second is by intentionally making other mutilations. That is by looping or clipping of any parts of his body of the offended party or than the essential organ or reproduction to deprive him of that part of the body. Then Article 263, serious physical injuries. Serious physical injuries, first element is that when the injured person becomes insane, imbecile, impotent, or blind, is consigned in the physical injuries inflicted. 2. When the injured person A. loses the use of speech or the power to hear or smell, or loses an eye, hand, foot, and arm, or a leg. B. loses the use of any such member or became incapacitated for the work in which he has therefore habitually engaged in consequence of the physical injuries inflicted. Dayon, Article 263, serious physical injuries. Third, when the person injured A. became deformed, or B. loses another member of his body or loses the use of thereof, or D. becomes ill or incapacitated for the performance of the work in which he was habitually engaged for more than 90 days in consequence of the physical injuries inflicted. 4. When the injured person becomes ill or incapacitated labor for more than 30 days but must not more than 90 days as a result of physical injuries inflicted. Dayon, Article 264, administering injuries, substance or beverage. First element is that the offender inflicted upon another any serious physical injuries. Second, that it was done by knowing and administering to him any injurious substances or beverage, or by taking advantage of his weakness of mind or credulity. And the third is that he has no intent to kill. Article 265, less serious physical injuries. First element is that the offended party is incapacitated for labor for 10 days or more, but not more than 30 days, or needs attendance for the same period. And the second is the physical injuries must not be those described in the preceding articles. Then, Article 266, slight physical injuries and maltreatment. Elements. First is physical injuries which incapacitated offended party from 1 to 9 days or required medical attendance during the same period. Second, physical injuries which did not prevent the offended party from engaging in his habitual work, or which did not require medical attendance. Third is ill treatment or another by deed without causing any injuries. Dayon. Chapter 3, Rape. Article 66, Anti-Rape Law. How rape was committed. 1. By a man who shall have carnal knowledge of a woman under any of the following circumstances. A. Through force, threat, or intimidation. B. When the offended party is deprived of reason or other unconscious. Then C is by means of fidelity, machinations, or grave abuse of authority. D. When the offended party is under 12 years of age or demented, even though none of the circumstances mentioned above be present. Then elements. A. That the offender is a man. That the offender had carnal knowledge of a woman. C is that such act is accomplished under any of the following circumstances. By using force, intimidation, or when the woman is deprived of reason or otherwise unconscious, or by means of fidelity, machinations or grave abuse of authority, or when the woman is under 12 years of age or demented. By the person who any of the circumstances mentioned in the paragraph 1 hereof shall commit any act of sexual assault by inserting his penis into another person's mouth or anal orifice or another person's or any instrument or object into the genital or anal orifice or another person. Elements. A. That the offender commits an act of sexual assault. B. An act of sexual assault is committed by any of the following means. By inserting his penis to another person's mouth or anal or dayon. By inserting any instrument or object into the genital or anal to another person. That the act of sexual assault accomplished under any of the circumstances enumerated under the first act of committing rape. Article 266B, qualified rape. And rape under both acts of committing is qualified by the following. Note, rape is punishable by death if it falls under any 4 to 14 circumstances. 1. When the rape is committed with the use of deadly weapon or by 2 or more persons. 2. When by reason or occasions of rape the victim has become insane. 3 is when the rape is intended and homicide is committed by reason of or on the occasion of rape, especially complex crime. Article 266B, qualified rape. Number 4 kay when by the reason of occasion of rape, homicide is committed, especially in special complex crime. 5. When the victim is under 18 years of age and the offender is a parent, ascendant, step-parents, guardian, relative, or affinity within the third civil degree or the common law spouse of the parents of the victim. 6. When the victim is under the custody of police or military authority or any law enforcement or penal institution. 7. When the rape is committed in full view of the spouse, parents, or any of the children or other relative within third civil degree of consanity. 8 is when the victim is religiously engaged in a legitimate religious obligations or calling and his personally known to be such by the offender before or at the time of the commission of the crime. 9. When the victim is a child below 7 years old. Then 10. When the offender knows that he is afflicted with HIV or AIDS or any other sexual transmissible disease and the virus or disease is transmitted to the victim. 11 is when committed by any members of the AFP or paramilitary units thereof, of the PNP or any law enforcement agencies or penal institution. when the offender took advantage of his positions to facilitate and uh, to facilitate the commissions of the crime. Then 12, when the reasons or by the occasions of the rape, the victim was suffered permanently physical mutilations or disability. 13, when the offender knew of the pregnancy of the offended party at the time of the commission of the crime. 14, when the offender knew the mental disability, emotional disorder or physical disability of the offended party at the time of commissions of the crime. Then, Article 266C, effect of pardon. Effect of pardon, the subsequent valid marriage between the offender and the offended party shall extinguish a criminal action or the penal already imposed. Second, the subsequent forgiveness of the wife to the legal husband shall extinguish the criminal action or the penalty, provided that the crime shall not be extinguished or the penalty shall not be abated if the marriage is void ab initio. Then Article 266D, presumption. Evidence which may be accepted in the prosecutions of rape. 1. Any physical overt act manifesting resistance against the act of rape in any degree from the offended party, or second, where the offended party is so situated as to render himself her or incapable of giving her or his consent. Title 9. Crimes against personal liberty and security. Section 1. Illegal detention. Article 267. Kidnapping and serious illegal detention. Elements. 1. The offender is a private individual who is not any of the parents of the victim, nor a female. 2. That the kidnaps or detained another, or in any other manner deprive the latter of his liberty. 3rd, that the act of detention or kidnapping must be illegal. 4th, that in the commission of the offense, any of the following circumstances is present. Circumstances A is that the kidnapping or the detention lasts for more than 3 days, or B, that it is by committed simulating public authority, or C, that any serious physical injuries that inflicted upon a person kidnapped or detained or threat to kill him or are made, or that the person kidnapped or detained is a minor, female, or Article 268, slight illegal detention. Elements. Element 1, that the offender is a private individual. Second, that the kidnapped or detained another, or in any manner deprived him of his liberty. Third is that the act of kidnapping or detention is illegal. The fourth is that the crime is committed without the attendance of the circumstances enumerated in the Article 267. Article 269, unlawful arrest. First element is that the offender arrests or detain another person. Second is that the purpose of offender is to deliver him to the proper authorities. The third is that the arrest is detention, or the detention is unauthorized by law, or there is no reasonable ground therefore. Section 2, kidnapping of minors. Article 270, failures to return a minor. Elements. First, that the offender is entrusted with the custody of the minor person less than 18 years old. Second is that he deliberately fails to restore the said minor to his parents or guardian. Then, Article 271, inducing a minor to abandon his home. First element is that a minor less than 8 years old is living in the home of his parents or guardian, or the person entrusted with his custody. Second is that the offender is induced said minor to abandon such home. Section 3, slavery and servitude. Article 272, slavery. Elements. First, that the offender purchases, kidnaps, or detains a human being. Second is that the person of the offender is to enslave such human being. Then, Article 273, exploitation of child labor. First element is that the offender retains a minor in his service. Then, second is that it is against the will of the minor. Third is that under the pretext of reimbursing himself of a debt incurred by a ascendant, guardian, or person entrusted with the custody of such minor. Then, Article 274, services rendered under the compulsion in payment. First element is that the offender compels a debtor to work for him, either as a household servant or farm laborer. Then second, that it is against the debtor's will. Then third, that the purpose is to require or enforce payment of a debt. Then, Chapter 2, Crimes Against Security. Section 1, Abandonment of helpless person and exploitation of minor. Article 275, Abandonment of a person in danger and abandonment of one's own victim. Act punished 1. By failing to render assistance to any person whom the offender finds in uninhabited places, wounded or in danger of dying, when he can render such assistance without detriment of himself, unless such omission shall constitute more serious offense. Dayon, Chapter 2, Crimes Against Security. Elements. First, the place is uninhabited. B, the accused found there a person wounded or endangered of dying. C, the accused can render assistance without detriment to himself. D, the accused fails to render assistance. Then second is by failing to help or render assistance to another whom the offender has accidentally wounded or injured. Third is by failing to deliver a child under 7 years of age whom the offender has found abandoned to the authorities or to his families, or failing to take him to a safe place. Then, Article 276, abandoning a minor. Elements. First element, that the offender has the first is that the offender has the custody of the child. Second is that the child is under the 7 years of age. Third is that he abandons such child. And then fourth is that he has no intent to kill the child when the latter is abandoned. Section 2, trespassing to dwelling. Article 280, qualified trespassing to dwellings. First element is that the offender is a private person. Second, that he enters the dwelling of another. Third, that such entrance is against the latter's will. Then, Article 281, other form of trespass. Then, elements first is that the offender enters the closed premises or the fenced state to another. Second, that the entrance is made while either of them is uninhibited. Then third is that that the provision to enter be manifest. Fourth is that the trespassers has not secured the permission of the owner or the caretaker thereof. Dayon, Section 3, Threats and Coercion. Article 282, Grave Threat. Elements of grave threats where the offender attained his purpose. First element is that the offender threatens another person with the infliction upon the letter's person, honor and property, or upon that of the letter's family or any wrong. Then second is that such a wrong amount is to a crime. Third, that there is a demand for money or that any other condition imposed, even though not unlawful. Fourth, that the offender attains his purpose. And then elements of grave threats not subject to a condition. First is that the offender threatens another person with the inflictions upon the letter's person, honor or property, or upon the letter's family, or any wrong. Then second, that such wrong amount to a crime. Third is that the threat is not subject to a condition. Yan na, good.